Lightning Strike Warden. Now, first up, neither the footage nor anything I can do here is really tested. I don't have alpha access, so the new Ascendancy is something that we can theorize over and we can currently play around with in PoE, but there is nothing definitive. In fact, not even all the questions have been answered, and I'm going to go over that in the section at the start. But needless to say, if you're either a new player or a returning player that is kind of out of touch, I would definitely recommend play something safer. You also see a ton of other creators make similar builds. What I'll say about that in terms of economy, I wouldn't really worry too much, or at least I'm not worried too much. The versions I have don't really have anything specific in terms of uniques or anything that could get inflated by the market. Most of the things are going to be expensive anyways because melee or attack-based builds are just back. But in general, I would always scout all different versions of builds.
It is a sinful amount of tankiness.
With that said, so Lightning Strike got buffed quite a bit this patch. It got more than double the damage effectiveness. It did get stripped of its flat damage. I would say in endgame that means around about 80 to 90% more damage. And we're playing the new Ascendancy. This Ascendancy is all about ailments, tinctures, and it has a little bit of defensive component as well.
All those maps.
Talk about that.
I think it was
in general, why do people like Lightning Strike? It's a very fun, vanilla-ish skill that has a melee component, a projectile component. It looks cool, has decent clear, decent DPS, and it's just an all-rounder package. And Lightning Strike just fits neatly into this package that it offers with first up, Oath of Spring needing a lot of hits to actually be effective, and Oath of Winter, which if you hit a lot will give you quite a bit more freezes than on basically any other Ascendants. And you have an absolutely crazy damage steroid at the end with Avatar of the Wild.
This is a Mage Blood map, like as I'm speedrunning these demos.
From personal experience, having played Lightning Strike for I think 4 times at this point, it's just an extremely fun skill that I'm very much.
And sold the Mage Blood for 100, and it took 90 seconds. This is like over 1,000 div an hour, but like, it's the reason that this is such good margin is because this is increasingly lethal on a really dangerous one portal. So you have to be tanky in order to do a one portal feared. You have to be able to tank the feared and not die. It's one portal. You lose the Mage Blood if you die once. But it's increasingly lethal, so most builds... So
here's how to slice and dice your title in DaVinci Resolve.
There goes the feared. Oh, Aziri was out. There goes Aziri. Most builds that can do one portal feared are incredibly ZDPS.
Alright boys, so as you know we like to do around here, when it comes
to
mod
for increased damage taken every 2 seconds means that if you take 10 minutes to beat the map, the feared will one-shot you no matter how tanky. Like, even that super tanky character is getting annihilated if they get up to like 200 stacks. So this was like an 82-second map.
Very long time with
for
all
a 60 divide margin.
We've got the auction house, we've got a huge, massive
I'm going to show off something here for a demonstration that I've actually never seen someone show off.
Pretty much any Path of Exile player to do this.
Tier 17s are added this league, and they have a bunch of really cancerous modifiers that most of them are just designed to brick certain builds. Just straight up brick. So most builds, no matter how strong they are, this includes Manifold Zeros, have a list of modifiers in this pool that they just can't run. They're keeping this at 325. They're not getting rid of these modifiers. They're all the exact same. They've since allowed us to use Chaos Orbs on them, though. And when you use a Chaos Orb, it will reroll with 4 Tier 16 modifiers that aren't nearly as bad, and 2 Tier 17 modifiers that are the ones that people can't do. Those are the builds, you know, the build mess up mobs. They naturally drop with 6 modifiers. So unidentified Tier 17 maps always have 6 of the Tier 17 modifiers. One of the stupid strong things about this build is it doesn't really have very sad news. So I can kind of do anything.
Fox is a great guy.
It's chaos damage right now, like Replica Alderons.
Some of the information about it.
So double reflect doesn't matter. My recovery is from on hit, so cannot leech and cannot recover does not matter. Technically right now in the endgame setup I'm using Original Sin, so extra monster res doesn't matter.
Let's talk about our first build.
If you go down the list of all the things that screw people over, they pretty much do not matter for this build. So I'm going to do a kind of a funny flex here. I'm going to do some unidentified Tier 17s to just show that I'm actually not scared of any modifiers. Also,
just
However,
for some
the
extra
Warden,
spice.
on paper and like conceptually in my
It
mind,
wouldn't
looks to be a
really
very
be
strong ascendancy to
impressive
this, and Lightning
just
Strike got
doing
massively buffed
tier
in comparison
17
to a lot of
modifiers
other
times
skills.
6 unidentified.
So, in my opinion,
if I
it is
wasn't
going
on back
to
and forth.
probably be league
So
starter
let's
this
see
league.
what some unID tier 17 is like back to
It's going to be a
basics.
super zoomy build. You'll be able to
This
get the
is a
map
kind of
extremely
stupid
quickly,
show
clear
off
most of the screen
that I
extremely
don't
fast.
think there's another
It
build
will
that
be
can do.
okay at bossing.
The
It's not
only
gonna
thing
be
that could
amazing at
affect
bossing,
me
but
is
it will be
exactly
okay.
what I
And
just
talking
got.
about cost for this
Okay,
build, this
well,
build should be relatively
you're gonna say
cheap.
scripted,
There are
but the
very
only
few
mod
unique
that
keys
currently
in the
doesn't
early game
do
version
well
of
with my
this build.
setup
It's
is
basically
my
just
delve setup has no
Perseverance and
overcap
Inertia.
res,
Perseverance was
and
like
it's running
14
double
chaos
purity.
day 1 in Necropolis, and
So,
then like tank
in the
extremely
event
fast
I
after
get the
that.
100%
There's a couple
reduced
builds
aura
that are
effect
gonna be
mod, I
using
have
this,
to
but
switch
it's
to
a tier
Abysmith,
4 rarity
which
unique.
is
I could see somewhat expensive
what
day
I'll
1,
do.
day 2, but it's just going to keep tanking after that. I don't see
Wait,
any
does that
reason
matter?
for the
Nah,
tier of
whatever.
this to be adjusted
So,
this league, so
okay,
you should be
I have
fine.
no
As for
aura
Inertia,
effect right now.
It is a
That's the
corrupted
only
tier,
mod that
so
like really affects
there
me.
is like some small chance that
But, like,
literally everyone is using this day
Other
1
than
for
the
some
fact
reason,
I have
that
no
might be
auras
expensive,
now,
but
because I have no
very,
bonus
very
aura
unlikely.
effect, I picked the
Honestly,
worst way out.
Hellstone version is not using the transfigured version.
You know,
of
I
Lightning
have
Strike. I do
4
think it's
auras,
something
but I
that
have
is.
0 effect now.
However, Hellstone is using
But like,
all
it still
Lightning
just
Strike,
doesn't
which is
really matter.
easier to get than transfigured
Like,
Lightning Strike.
yes,
Still do
obviously
need
I'm getting a
20%
ton of
quality
defensive
here,
power
so
from
that's
auras,
slightly rough. You might be
but
you know,
people who know deep delve
but
already know this.
honestly, no.
But the
Now,
difference in
is the
power
cost of this build gonna be
between like
inflated
delve
in the new
6K
league, like, with
and
all
like
the
even tier
extraneous
17 maps
circumstances that I can think of,
is so
probably not.
astronomically
Most of
different
this gear is really easily
that like
craftable
even
by
just
raw
turning all the
versus
auras off,
claws are pretty easy
the
to
tier
make other
17
claws
just
out of.
doesn't
You
do
can use
anywhere
essences,
near
you
the
can use
damage
raw,
of
you
even
can
like
use a
delve
bunch of different
1500.
stuff. And the rest of this gear
So this
is
is,
like
you know,
life, maybe some accuracy, evasion, and armor. And
kind of meant to show. Oh, by the way, also tier 17s are getting nerfed
here.
nicely.
Nothing like
But not the modifiers, just the base stats on the modifiers. So they're lowering the health and damage of tier 17s, but they're keeping the modifiers the
Strike,
same.
which is going to be your main ability. This
So,
is a simple just right click and
I
hit
thought
some
I'd
enemies.
just show
As long
off
as you
this
follow
funny
what
flex,
Hellstone says, you shouldn't
and of
really
course
have
I
to
got
worry too
the
much about
actual
how this
only
build
mod I have
plays.
to alter
Just
my
do
build
what he
for.
says to do. You should be
I was
okay.
hoping I wouldn't get that
It does
mod
have
so I could just
one
show no change. Now
interesting
it
and
looks like I
potentially annoying
took
ability, and that
the
is going to be a
like
Guardian's
script it out. I'll do
Blessing
another
from
after
Dark
this.
Marionette. If you don't know, Dark
There's
Marionette
actually
are
no way to
a
know the modifiers on
recurring
these unless
specter
there's
that
something
will
I
be
don't know
available
about.
in this league that
So if
essentially
anyone
just
thinks this is
respawn
like
every
a
time they die,
pre-scripted, like, oh, I do the
you will
mods,
have
like,
to
I actually
activate
have
your
no idea
Guardian's
what's
Blessing
going on.
whenever they do happen to die, so that could be slightly annoying. It does use Whirling Blades as its movement
I'll do
ability.
one more
Notably,
after
it
this,
doesn't
just
have a
for fun.
gap closer in the early game
Oh,
version
it's
of
synth
the
boss.
PvP. I'm not sure if this is
Alright,
later,
how
but
hard
you
does
could
this
just
guy
use
hit?
like Twin Dash or something like that. Perfectly fine, just slot it in anywhere. It uses Blood Rage as its buff, and then it has Ball Lightning Strike as one
Now
of
we
its
get
main
the boring
cooldowns,
part
and
of-
Unbound
I
Avatar
shouldn't
and
have picked
Warden of
Citadel.
Energy as one of its other cooldowns. These
That's
should make
actually kind of
bossing
bad.
really
I
simple.
shouldn't have
As
picked
for how fun the build
Citadel
is to
can't be
actually
skipped.
play, I would say that Lightning Strike is a very fast
I should have done like Fortress so I could
You're going to
still
be
boss
moving around
fast.
maps extremely quickly. You're going
Alright,
to be able to hit from very
that's
far.
my bad.
You
I
are
shouldn't have
still
done. Yeah,
playing
this
melee.
is a
You
poor
want to
match
get
for
up
us.
front and hit enemies whenever you're doing single target.
I'll tell you what,
You
I'll
kind of have
come.
the best of both worlds here.
I'll
Super
show
fast
this
build,
boss.
cheap, relatively tanky, but
And
it's gonna
I'll
be
plug
super
one
tanky.
more tier
My
17
personal rating
just to
for it,
show
should be
it
a
like
very
wasn't
I'm
RNG.
talking about what this build is designed for.
But
I would
I'll
say
just get to the
mapping
boss
speed
and then I'll
is
skip
easy.
the
It's not
edge.
really a bossing build. You can do some bossing.
Oh, I didn't get the
design
hang
for
on.
it.
I'm gonna
It's
get
not
the
like
I know. In principle, I'm gonna get the
when it comes to map farming, this is probably.
I'll
gonna
do
be
one
the
more
bigger
real
map
quick, but I
farming.
won't
know
do
that
the long drawn out boss fight. I'll just
all the big boys are probably going to be
Yeah.
playing this
I should
build,
also
and as
put
I
it back
said,
on
should
here.
be able to handle bosses with some investment.
Don't you dare do the Aura thing twice.
I do think
Yeah, we have the
we
Destiny
good at
Ground,
bossing,
the
but it should still be perfectly fine. Unbound Avatar is
And
a
but like just pay attention to my HP. How low? How hard are my
10% more elemental damage. You should
What's
have
the
it up
lowest
extremely
you've seen my health
frequently.
go?
That plus ball lightning strike.
While
Excellent
actually
clear build.
playing. Here, I'll even take these.
When it comes to defenses, the
tankiness is a
evasion,
little
so it's gonna have
overqualified.
avoidance and physical damage reduction. It
But
doesn't have any
I just
extra
thought this would be a
elemental
good
damage
show
reduction,
off
but
of,
this is
like,
super common. It doesn't have any extra chaos damage reduction
A
besides
long
just
time
resistances
ago, I
or
had
anything to
a
really
build
do
I
with it
made
over time.
like 8 years ago, and I thought it was really strong. It was really strong.
So it has a way to deal with attacks.
It had like 30 million DPS, like 8 years ago.
Overall,
and I was so proud.
Safe. It's not a face
and
build,
the numbers were there, it was tanky, but it used 3 curses,
I
and a
get the
bunch of
free
like
build,
double
like,
dip
a
ignite
Deadeye
additional
or
stuff.
something that you had played in previous leagues.
And back then, monsters could be full ailment immune on bosses,
associated with this build,
as well as
a good section of notes in the PvP. Palstron does have
curse
video
immune
guides,
completely
and this is
that you
probably
couldn't
the
get
build
around.
he's going to be playing, so he will put out updates as
I'll
the
finish
day
the boss
goes
while I tell
through.
the story.
There's path of buildings, there's level
And so there were all these things in the game that you could not navigate around. If your build couldn't handle this mod,
try to get that kind of stuff handled.
you just failed.
If you can't
Well,
find enough help here,
I talked to an
there's
old
another
streamer,
version of Tuna that
Etup.
might be
I
able
was
to
in his
assist
chat,
as
just
well.
like, you know, some
But
viewer
Palstron guys are
XQC
typically
chatting.
pretty high quality, and all of
And
them
I was
should
telling
be there.
Etup, I'm like,
This is
yo, I got a
probably
build that I
like
think
the
is really
build if I
strong.
had
He's
to
like, oh,
choose one of
how
them
good
that's
is
going to
it?
be really
And I'm
good
like,
and
it's got
somewhat
30 mil
new
DPS,
with
it's
this league.
tanky, all
Use
this
the newest
stuff.
Ascendancy. It's technically
And
melee.
I'm
It's
like,
a
I
fun
think it's the
ability,
strongest
can
build
do
in the
most
game.
things, and it should just be a
And Etup told me at the time,
Archmage, Ice Nova,
he said,
Hierophant by Zizzer.
the strongest
This
build in the game
was probably
is the
biggest
build that
takeaway
can
from
run any
4.24. It was the build if I had to
a
choose
build
one
that
of them.
does not care
It got
what the
insanely
opponent
popular. It was
has.
good for most
The
things.
strongest build in the game.
This was probably
It
the
doesn't
biggest
matter. Oh, it
buff
must be
ability
track
from
version.
this
But
patch.
it doesn't
Everybody
matter
kind of realized it.
what
Even to this point,
overkill
now at the
damage you
very
do.
end of Necropolis League,
If
this
you're
was one of
2
the
mil
most
DPS,
popular
it can run every mod.
absolutely
versus
excellent
30 mil
build, and it
DPS
only
for no
caused
reason.
a few
2
very
mil
slight
DPS build
nerfs to
stronger.
mana cost essentially because
And
of
at
one
the
of
time, I
fortunes,
didn't like that
and
answer.
that's pretty much it.
But
Now,
the
there
more
are
I
kind of
about it, the more I realized.
build very early on. It can
So
feel
when I've been
slightly
making
clunky
this
because
build,
it is a 2-button build, but this
I'll
is
do
fixed as
I'll
you
do
gear
an
up to
Uber
do
Eater
the
just for the
Talos
fun of
or
it.
Thirst and other
Just
things,
for
so
the flex.
I wouldn't
When I
worry
was
too
making
much
this
about
build,
it,
I
as long as
thought
you can
back to
make it
that
through the
story
first
of this
probably
is the
couple
build.
of days and you
This
don't
is the build that
mind
can run
the
any
playstyle
mods.
that much, should be more.
Oh,
So
it's
when it comes to
it's an
cost
Uber
for
elf.
this
Okay,
build,
I'm gonna
it
skip
should
this.
be
I'm actually
relatively
skipping
cheap
this. I thought it
early,
was a
however, there is
rip.
kind of one sticking point.
I was gonna kill the
and that's
Eater in
going
like
to be
1
at the
second.
middle tier of the